بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
But now in this new world we exist in, it's the targeting of Muslims. The communist Chinese, the capitalist American, the Hindtuva Indians, the French. It doesn't matter. If you're Muslim, they're going to target you. What level you're practicing at, they don't really care. They don't really care whether you've got a beard or a hijab or a scarf, or they don't really care about that. If you say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, you're a target. And there's been a normalization of Islamophobia. So there's one thing I tell you, brothers, I spent 3 years in Guantanamo, 2 of those years in pure solitary confinement. I saw 2 prisoners beaten, tortured to death, with their hands tied to the top of the cage, to death, being kicked and punched to death by American soldiers. And that guy said on his lips, the last word he said, Allah, Allah, Allah. And they kicked him because he said Allah. They found it funny. His autopsy report and the entirety of his life is featured in an Oscar-winning documentary called Taxi to the Dark Side.
What?
Because he was a taxi driver. Taxi to the Dark Side. Do a search for it. Taxi to the Dark Side. I'm an eyewitness to that. After all of that, 3 years without charge, no trial, no court, no prosecutor, no defense, nothing. Just a cell that measured 8 foot by 6 foot. No window, no communication. You're in a cage. You can't come out the cage. So what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to do in the midst of that? Learn the Quran. Reflect on its verses. Internalize them. Learn whatever you can from the small amount of books they give you. Write letters, write your thoughts. Prepare yourself for the outside world. And there's one thing I want to tell you guys, right? So you're facing off people who hate Muslims on the streets, mostly because they're ignorant. If you were to sit them down one-on-one, you'd easily break down their hatred. Easy. Because we did it with the American soldiers. And I can tell you, some of those American soldiers, I swear by Allah, in those cages said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. And some of them visited me in my home here. So don't let your enemy and your abuser and your tormentor and your jailer become your teacher. What do I mean by this? This terminology says, our enemy is not our teacher, comes from a famous mujahid. His name is Omar al-Mukhtar. He fought against the Italian fascists.
1923.
Fascists,
1916.
In the desert. He was 70 years old.
Sick.
When the Muslims captured Italian prisoners and they wanted to torture them, he said, our enemy is not our teacher. Our teacher is who? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
For 20
And
years
if he had been that way, if
fighting.
Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had been that way, we wouldn't be Muslims today. Because the message of Islam couldn't have been spread by force. He forgave those who tried to, like Al-Wahshi and Hind and Abu Sufyan, he forgave them. And Islam, and they became leaders of Islam.
They're the ones that chained themselves at the end, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Muqtaz, they chained themselves at the end, so that no one runs away.
So this, brothers, when you think about this, if you come across these guys, you come across these people, if they're going to fight you, fight them. Stand firm. Don't back off. You have the right to self-defense in law and in Islam, in every law. You have the right to defend yourself proportionately. Doesn't mean like if he hits you, you stick a knife in him. No. If he hits you, you hit him back, knock him down. But when you're able to speak to that person, show him that you're dignified, show him that you're a person of honor, show him that you're a person of faith, of Islam. And that will, my brothers, allow, this is what Allah says in the Quran, idfa billati hiya ahsan. Respond with, hit back with that which is better. فَإِذَا الَّذِي بَيْنَكَ وَبَيْنَهُ عَدَاوَةٌ. So that between him and you, there is animosity, كَأَنَّهُ وَلِيٌّ حَمِيمٌ. And he becomes like a close friend to you. And that's why I bring you back to, there's Guantanamo soldiers who in the beginning abused us, they stripped us naked, they beat us, they kicked us, they spat upon us, they cursed Islam. They tore the Quran and threw it into the toilet. Said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Imagine that. So that, my brothers, inshallah, is my message to you.
That's all attack them, we see.